the transformation of the river system and its sediments. So those sediments that are being carried by the river, as we transition into the lake environment, those sediments are dropped out of the river water, and we have an aggrading condition where we build a delta based on mainly fine material again, silts and fine sands, perhaps a little bit of clay. Remember, we've got the sands and gravels upstream in this case, back at the Victoria Glacier. So this is a much more quiet environment where we get the finer materials building out at the edge of the lake. If you'll notice in the foreground here, as we look out over this delta, the very milky color of the river as it enters into the lake system, and we can see the deposition of what is largely silt-sized particles and perhaps some fine sand-sized particles as well. And if we look across the delta and out towards the middle of the delta, we can see plumes of silt and fine sand being carried out into the bluish colors of Lake Louise proper. The lake color itself, of course, is quite special, typical of these glacial-fed lakes in the Rockies, and a lot of that color is developed by the clay-sized particles that in fact carry right out into the lake, and it's the reflection of sunlight that gives it that color.
As soils, these form the basis for some pretty productive ecosystems.
Well, we've got a fairly small delta formation going on here behind us, but it's active. The material that you see in the forefront, this is bare soil actively being eroded. In the background on the delta, we have vegetation where it's a little bit more stable. So take that same process and scale it up to a major drainage system like the Fraser River, for instance, or the Mississippi River, where the delta formation goes on over large areas. Vast amounts of sediments are being deposited. And with certain management interventions, typically drainage and water control systems of various sorts, these soils have been used around the world as extremely productive agricultural soils. And history gives us one of the best examples, of course, the Nile River, which was replenished with annual sediment depositions, and an entire culture flourished on that delta. So the delta environment's very important ecologically and for agricultural production around the world.